the Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting to order on Tuesday, March the 21st, 2017. Dale, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would the clerk please read the roll?
Commissioner Katnick.
Here.
Commissioner Hood. Here. Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
At this time, do we have any amendments to the agenda?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. I would like to discuss changing our Wetmore meeting from the third Tuesday to the third Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how the ordinance feels about it.
Okay. I'll put that into doing old business then.
Thank you, sir.
Anything else? If not, we will approve the agenda as amended with the amendment of visiting the day of the week of the Wetmore meetings. Okay, audience introduction.
Dale Mullen, rural Custer County.
Wilson Jarvis, rural Custer County. Dallas Anderson, Airport Advisory Board.
Jackie Dubus for the Sentinel.
Aaron West.
D. West Whitmore.
Pam Haywood, Whitmore.
Rose Heidebaugh Whitmore.
John Spire Whitmore.
Nancy Cruz Whitmore.
Thank you very much. The reason we ask for this is later you have comments, we can follow your voice on our recordings. Public comment, please. Any other?
You have some minutes to approve.
Oh, excuse me, approval of the minutes. I believe we have a set of minutes to be approved that were the 28th of February. Have you had a chance to review
And
those?
there's 3 sets.
Yeah,
The
3.
7th and 8th of March.
Let's look at the first one for the 28th of February. Have you had a chance to approve those or to read any additions or corrections?
I think they're fine, and I'd make a motion that we accept the minutes as stated.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made and seconded, accept the minutes as stated. Any discussion? Call for the question, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Minutes on the March 7th meeting?
I have no changes.
I had no changes.
No changes.
I'll make a
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes as stated.
Okay. And I'll second it. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Minutes for March the 8th for the Custer County Board of County Commissioners meeting. I found no changes. Did either of you?
No, sir.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Kelly, for a very nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, public comment. Wow, I think this is the first meeting I've been to in 3 years there hasn't been a public comment. I've got one. Weather's pretty nice this morning, we've got wind coming tomorrow. All right, I'd like to move on to commissioner items. Donna?
I have a few. On 3/9, I met with Matthew Brothers Electric on the Wetmore Community Center, and I emailed a quote regarding the scope of work for the data and the voice lines. Any questions on that?
If I may, I reviewed that bid. I think it was like a little more than $2,200.
22.
It appeared, if we're convinced that it's going to accomplish what we want, I felt that it was appropriate, and I didn't see any issues with it. Fine?
Okay, so then I'd like to make the motion to accept the proposal for $2,280 for the Wetmore Community Center. And just to reference that it does exclude installing computers, servers, software or modems, does not include the wireless internet equipment, on the phone company fees, phone company router, or wireless router. So now that this can be approved, I can move forward with CenturyLink.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Just
Can
need
I
a
ask one
signature.
question? Are they going to run the data cables?
This is regarding all the voice and data cable wiring in the building. That was not bid before.
They're gonna do the whole thing?
Right.
They are running the voice and the data cables.
Okay.
Then the phone company has to come in and do their connection to the phone box.
Because I have a spool of cable that was given to us for the data. So if they,
Who gave it to you?
and we procured it way back when we first started.
Okay, I can let them be aware that you have that. This is gonna happen pretty quickly.
Okay.
So if you can let the builders know, the contractor,
All right.
Tony.
Is Tony gonna do it?
Tony's not gonna do it. This is a different vendor, but they
But he's
work.
is he gonna oversee it?
Yes.
All right, I give the cable to Tony.
Give the cable to
That's fine.
Tony, and I will make them aware that Tony
Okay.
has that cable.
Okay,
We could discuss that tomorrow at our update, if you'll be there.
okay.
That's great.
Okay. Okay, where did that?
I passed this, or did you want it back?
Yeah, because
Sorry.
I've got to sign it and then give it to them.
Sorry. All right, anything else?
Oh, yeah. Okay. On 3/10, at 2 o'clock, there was a meeting with Cindy Howard, OEM, and various agencies regarding the potential flooding. And that meeting went about 2 hours. I'm not sure if anybody in the audience was there, but they did show some interesting videos that could happen a minute, like 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes. We all better be ready, because if it's coming, it's coming. On 3/13, the commissioners toured the public health office, which was requested by Beth Green at the prior meeting at the clinic. And later that afternoon, I met with Donna Hobby regarding job descriptions, personnel policy, and our purchasing policy. On 3/14, Tuesday, we had a tourism board meeting. A result of that meeting is that we have decided that we're going to concentrate on getting the website up to date, which it hasn't really been working for us. And we're putting out an RFP on a 2-year contract to update the website and maintain it. That will work once that's up and going. We're also going to be looking to enhance our Facebook page, and so they work hand in hand. But we're working with a budget that's very tight, and if you aren't aware of that, the money from the Tourism Bureau comes in from the lodging tax, the 2% lodging tax. And Jackie, you want to add anything? Because you said...
There isn't much of it.
Okay. Money-wise, yeah, so, updating a website is going to cost $10,000 plus. That's what we're looking at. So we have a very tight budget. With that, we did not renew the contract for the banner that's at the airport. I don't know how many have seen that banner at the Colorado Springs Airport. Okay, so that was a very expensive ordeal, around $12,000, and it kind of led us to nowhere. It was a pretty picture, but that banner is coming down, and I have spoke to some of the people at the Wetmore community building, and when that banner comes in, they would love to put that in their new community room. So it won't be put on a shelf somewhere.
Recycle.
Correct. It's a really nice picture if you haven't seen it. Okay, later that day, 6 p.m., the commissioners were invited to the CART strategic plan review, so we did review that. On 3/15, we were down in Wetmore for a construction meeting update. And later that afternoon, we had a 911 Authority Board meeting, which I accepted the position as Vice President. Thank you, Commissioners, for that. On 3/16/9:30, I was back down at the Wetmore Building discussing cleaning and some maintenance with regards to keys. I also received a verbal notice from Dave Post, one of the county employees, who actually wore two hats, one being custodian and the other groundskeeper, and also managed the Way Building with the scales. So we'll be posting those jobs. It's also a time since then that I'm evaluating those job descriptions. And we may be changing some things around with regards to that. Ruth has accepted, Ruth Roper is going to go around with me. There's actually 7 buildings that the county owns, okay? So some people are doing their own cleaning, some are not, but it's just now a time for an evaluation of what's being done. With that, there is no maintenance agreements on any of our buildings with regards to HVAC or electrical. So I'm also going to be looking at hiring somebody to do that for all the buildings and keep a log, because these things have not been addressed in any building. So to move forward, you'll be hearing from me on that. Donna and I have been busy working with CSTI, where we submitted the job descriptions that we currently have, policies, our personnel policy, and our purchasing policy. And the experts at CTSI have reviewed those and made some suggestions, and we'll be addressing that also in the future. There seems to be a discrepancy in employee work hours with regards to our insurance coverage too, so I'll be bringing you up to date on that. On 3/20, which was yesterday, the commissioners had a workshop reviewing the bids that we got on the underfunded courthouse. And that conversation is going to be continued with another workshop on 3/29, or yes, 3/29 at 1. I also have some items here, Commissioners. I'm not sure if you're receiving these emails or not, but we've been getting an invitation to Mountain Connect. Are either one of you looking to go to that?
See, it's, normally what I do on this, I'll see what we have coming up. But Theo has asked me for 2 years to go. I would like to go to it. But again, we're gonna have to see what else we have going on in the county.
Okay.
Because it wouldn't be good for all 3 of us to be out of the county if we had something come up at that point.
Right, okay, so I just got that as an email. How about the VIP dinner? Anybody get that?
I'm going to it.
With regards
We'll be
to,
attending the conference.
you're gonna go to the conference, okay, so at least we're gonna be represented, okay.
That was a dinner for the Arkansas Valley Water Roundtable Discussions, which is our Arkansas group from Harrisburg, the Headwaters. They developed a water plan. They're involved in projects all the way from Lamar to the top of the hill. It's a pretty good informational group if it's like it is normal years. Last year we had a number of dignitaries and department heads from Denver were down, including John Stolp, who's the quote water czar in the state. And it's a good information, good session.
Okay, that's all I have.
Jake?
Just a second. Did you want to talk about this thing? The pipe route sign?
I've not seen that.
Oh, you had sent me that.
Yeah, I don't have a copy of that, Brenda, do you just wanna say what it is?
Yeah, we did a resolution designating certain roads in the county as historical trails for Pike. And they are going to be putting up signs along the roads, and they want you to vote on which sign you like the best. So I can forward this to you. And
I think we got a communication a couple of weeks ago on asking us to vote on what sign model we wanted to use. It's
Yeah, I was looking through emails and I didn't think.
Just
we
like
had
that.
action.
Scenic byway sign posting, so something that's easily recognizable. Anything else, Brendan? Jay?
I mentioned a couple nights ago, but I'll mention again that thanks to the work of Brenda Gady and Lynn Atterbury, we secured a $25,000 grant from the Coors Foundation for our Whitmore project, which will effectively cut our deficit basically in half. So kudos to Brenda, and I'm sorry Lynn's not here. I'd like to thank him also, but great job for both of you. Lynn had started working on it. Brenda followed up and got this secured for us, so I really appreciate that and that comment there.
I think some of you folks have been involved in the grants. I think Sue was, wasn't she, Jack? We've had some folks down there working real hard all through the process, so thank you folks also.
So everybody, thank you for hitting that vote. I spent, I'm not going to go through the list of all the things I attended, but of note, the Upper Arkansas Water District, I met with them in Salida. I go to their monthly meeting. Believe it or not, even as dry as we are right now, our water tables are about at average at the moment. That's because of the high snow in the mountains, which have fed into our lakes and reservoirs. However, as we all know how dry it is in the area, so I saw in the news this morning, maybe we'll have a little rain or precipitation later this week, and let's hope that occurs. But overall, our water supplies are actually in pretty good shape, believe it or not. They expect a good runoff when the high mountains melt, and there'll be some overflowing, but that's always contained each year. The other thing that I thought was of note, CART had a meeting on March 14th and presented a strategic plan. I thought that was very well done. They hired an outside firm to do that, and they're working forward on that. And I attended many other meetings and things to do what you hired me to do. So that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Okay. I just thought of something, well, I'll address that in a moment. And you see, we get kind of busy sometimes. On the 8th of March, we had a recovery meeting on the fire. On the 9th of March, we had a fire meeting. The 10th of March, we had another meeting down here with you folks, you recall. And then on the 11th, we had the sandbagging workshop. As a side note, we've been looking for something and see what we could do for facilitate sandbagging. I found a really neat machine, but it costs about 14 grand. But in the meantime, we found out that the highway department does have one of these someplace in this district. So now we're trying to track it down and see if we can use theirs for you folks to fill sandbags with. The number of sandbags we're gonna fill, you know, sometimes it's good to get sweaty and to understand things better. But after coming down here and watching and filling sandbags and moving sandbags and so forth, when we talk about thousands of sandbags needed for a project, my gosh, I don't think we've got enough manpower to fill all those. I think we need to mechanize some of it if we can. But again, thanks for all of you that were there and helped put it together. I also went to the CART meeting on the 13th of January. I met with Kathy Garcia from Senator Bennett's office over here, and we toured the fire area. Ruth Roper was with us, as well as Cindy Howard, and she's taking a message back to the senator to see what we can find, what we can do. I'd like to have some help ahead of time, but if not, I want to be doggone sure that they're on board so they know what happens. So if we have a disaster, we've at least got some potential. I'm exploring the manner in which we can possibly get a presidential declaration on the fire. I don't think we're going to have a lot of luck. If we had a presidential declaration, it opens up some additional funding sources, some things that we can do. but we do have the state declaration. Went to the E911 meetings, which those of you that maybe aren't totally familiar with that, E911 is our emergency response program. We have a committee that consists of a couple commissioners, the town of Westcliff and Silver Cliff, fire, a number of people on that committee, and all we're doing, this is a group responsible for maintaining the 911 programs. The good news is I think we've made some progress in pulling together a lot of things, getting the finances understood and pulled together. The bad news is the E911 dispatch center that we have in Westcliff currently probably has a lifetime of about 18 months. At that time, and Chuck can jump in here and help me because he's on the committee also, but at that time we're going to have to do some replacement, and that replacement's probably going to be 300,000 plus. So we've got some tall timber to whack on before we get to that point, but this is what this committee does. On the 16th, we had a Middle Arkansas Watershed Protection Program meeting. This is a group that's partially funded by the Arkansas Water Conservancy District. I believe this particular portion is the lower, not the upper. Have concerns, of course, we talked about this, and I'll talk about the flood in just a second, but we also have concerns about what's going into the river, what's going to go potentially into the Pebble Reservoir, how that might potentially impact Colorado Springs water supply and Pebble water supply, etc., etc. So it keeps adding up, folks, but at least we're addressing some of these. As they mentioned, we had also on the 16th, I went down to Senator Bennett's open house, and I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I talked to staff to some level. And there are also, this week, if we call them, or next week when I can schedule it, they will be happy to come down and also tour this area. I thought it was going to do any good, but I think it's important we get our U.S. senators up to date, up to speed on where we are with this. We had, I tried to look this morning, but I was hurrying too fast, but I understand you folks had a magnificent day cleaning up some of the creek on Saturday. I commend you for that. I understand we got some people from the Colorado Wildfire Protection Office, Control and Protection, down there with some sawyers. And then I think I understood you had a 4-H group from come in to clean and carry stuff out. So I think that was just fantastic. Congratulations. I guess that's all that I have. I would, before we go on to the next item, I have one other item I would like to amend to the agenda. I think you fellows, both of you received an email from our sheriff, Shannon Barley, asking that we address the fire ban today. And we'll put that on the agenda as it is. Yes, John?
If you have the time, the E911, $300,000, that sounds like a lot. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
For what? For what purpose? Or what are you asking?
Our system is only good for another 18 months. Can you explain if we've got to come up with $300,000, obviously, hopefully there's government grants and whatever, but can you elaborate on?
Right. Yeah, the E911 is funded by the phone calls that are made in Custer County. Right now, we're getting, I believe, 75 cents surcharge for reimbursement.
Buck 25.
And we're getting $1.25 and we're going to $1.75.
Right. We're
Explain it for me, Chuck. This is the guru right here.
currently we're getting $1.25 per month per phone and supposedly per cell phone. The problem is that a lot of people have cell phones that are not in our area, so wherever they used to live or wherever their phone used to be, they might be getting the $1.25 a month. So we're not getting anything that we should be. We're considering applying to the Public Utilities Commission, the PUC, for a increase in that up to $1.75, which right now is the limit, so that we can bring in some more money. The system that we put in is about almost 5 years old, and so the technology is changing significantly. For example, ours won't handle 911 text messaging and that type of stuff. It's all voice. There's next generation 911 where it can, for positioning off your cell phone and that type of thing, so you can reach GPS coordinates and all that kind of stuff. Ours gives it to us, but it doesn't plot it or anything like that. It has to be manually done. So there's a bunch of new things that are in the, that are available to us. So what the $300,000 is to upgrade that system and replace it with state of the art. It's all new equipment, software, wiring, whatever needs to be done, and all that type of thing.
And this is routinely done about every 5 years.
Yeah, it changes about every 5 years.
So the request is about 38 pages long, and I'm helping to work on that proposal.
Yeah, and it takes us about 5 or 6 years to accumulate the money, because we're only bringing in about $60,000 a year, $60,000 to $70,000 a year. So we save up that money so that we'll have enough when it comes time to buy something.
Yeah, I was going
Did
to
that
ask.
answer it?
No, I was going to ask how much is in that fund right now?
I think it's about 230,000
Okay,
right now.
so come close to hitting the 300,000.
It's probably gonna take us another year and a half to get up to that, yeah.
And this is something that continues to be a priority. And just as soon as we get a new system in, we'll start saving for the next one.
Yeah.
Isn't there a way to collect the cell phone money from out of state? It
Not
seems
right
like
now.
there isn't?
No, not right now,
Well,
no.
now, I think
There's-
we need to do a job, we haven't done anything to inform our citizens that are now residents that have come from another area, that that's something that can be utilized to help us. So we need to do, I think that committee needs to come up with a
Educate
way.
folks.
Yeah, and then there's issues with track phones, where you just, buy a bunch of minutes. And so there isn't a monthly charge and that type of thing. And it's kind of a mess. In Colorado, each 911 district gets to set their own rates. Other states have decided, okay, everybody pays the same thing, and then the state pays for all the 911 systems throughout it and stuff like that. But Colorado hasn't got it.
This kind of ties into zoning and planning when we talk about some of the subdivisions that don't have road signs, numbers on the houses. So the state of the art is really, really important so that it plots where you are so they know where to go. Because some of the subdivisions are adamant about not putting up road signs or house numbers. And there's really not, feel free to speak on this if you like, but there's really not a whole lot we can do with a recognized subdivision if they refuse to do it. But at 911, we've had many instances where emergency personnel are calling dispatch, going, I cannot find this, where is it? Have them wait or something until they find it. An upgrade for the safety of our citizens is paramount.
So am I understanding correctly, Chuck, that if somebody has like a, I don't know, Kansas area code on their cell phone, that percentage is probably going to Kansas? Or?
Sometimes. It depends on, it's supposed to go to where the bill is being sent. But we don't know that is actually happening. Because it's then up to that cell phone company when they change their address to redirect the money.
So
And
how
whether or
does
not
citizens
they're
find out whether they're, you
On your
said
bill,
Yeah,
it'll say where it's designated.
it should say on your bill
on
where
the
you.
cell phone bill? Okay.
Yeah.
We can't find out who isn't, who
Yeah.
we're not collecting from, we can just find out who we are collecting
Okay.
from.
Yeah. And more and more people are going to cell phones because, landlines and cell phones are expensive, so.
Another very critical part of this is the ability to text. A lot of times we'll have people that are, an example, up in South Colony, up in Swamp on the Crestone Needle, or wherever, that are in trouble, and their cell phone service is very, very spotty. Well, if they text, all they have to have is like that, and the text will go out. Well, they might miss that opportunity if they're trying to get an actual cell phone signal. And then this in turn allows us also, I think, to go back and pinpoint where they were when they sent that text.
If their cell phone will provide information,
So
yes.
that's, and yes, it's an increased tax. But it comes
Yeah,
down to the
we-
point of what do we do, what's necessary for public safety.
We can't, most smartphones do tell us the GPS coordinates of the phone. But if it doesn't have that feature, we don't have enough towers to triangulate where people are. So all we get is, it came off of this tower. Well, that helps, but sometimes that tower is 25 miles away from where the person is. Just depends on their line of sight and that kind of stuff, so.
Okay, let's move on. Attorney items.
At the March 8th meeting, Butch Gimmon made a proposal for the Custer County Early Childhood Council. He sent a sample MOU, and last night I prepared a draft of a memorandum of understanding between the county and CCECC, Custer County Early Childhood Council. I just emailed it all to you this morning, and I told Butch, I haven't heard back from him on it yet. Donna Hobby looked at it and said it looked good to her as far as the things she was concerned about. But I told Butch we would put it on the agenda for March 31 to talk about it and see, but I need all of you to look at it and make whatever suggestions you need on it.
This Early Childhood Council, most counties have them. It's basically from newborns until 5 or 6, 8, and there are some monies available from the state. This will not be a county expense. It'll be a pass-through like a lot of our programs are. But we need to set up a body, if you will, an organization that can handle these, and then they will be in a position to offer additional assistance to the preschool and early elementary kids that we don't have right now. Anyone add?
No, I think that's right. The only thing that was a hiccup at the moment was there's an agent. First of all, Bob's 100% correct. It will not cost us anything. The money comes from the Early Childhood Development Council, will fund the program, but it goes through the Custer County Treasury Department. We will collect the money and then disperse it. So if there are expenses aside from just the agent is a paid individual, that person's salary, it'll be a pass-through. But the hiccup was our insurance. To insure that person, we have to insure them if they're with the county, and for our insurance to cover them, they have to have an office. So we were scrambling recently for an office, and it looks like the school will either give them an office, or it's possible the library may give them a room. If not, I may be coming back to my fellow commissioners and ask if we could use maybe the basement of the annex or some room that is not quite up to snuff for other things, just so we can help facilitate this. It's a great program, as Bob said. We are the last county to have a early childhood council. The purpose of the program is for the children to get, prior to age 8, to get, parents can get help with babysitting, funding, tutoring, just a huge myriad of advantages that some children may not be getting in the county. So it's a wonderful thing, doesn't cost anything. I mean, to me, I think the technical term is it's a no-brainer. We just need to work through the processes. And I spoke with Donna Hobby. It's an easy thing for her to handle as a separate account. It's not going to cost her any additional work. So we're moving ahead, and hopefully this will come to fruition within the next couple of weeks.
Okay. And do we have anything, well, before we leave, Chuck, as we talk later, you'll be addressing the fiber optic.
Yes.
Good. Okay. All right, at this time, let's move into the new and old business. The building assessment, the funding, and I think Christie's here.
It says
She
not.
said she'd be here around 10:30, so.
What this is, we had a group of students, I think, from University of Colorado Springs, I believe, that come down, or maybe it's at dinner, but to do some building needs assessment across the county. It's a fairly innocuous process. I'm not sure they got deep enough into what we really needed, but at least it gives us a starting point. And that's something been hanging fire, and we're trying to get it wrapped up. Next, under anything else on the door? Okay, the next item we have is a fiber optic internet. Ask Chuck to respond to it.
Recently, the state court system had CenturyLink bring in fiber optic into the courthouse. It's in our basement. I checked with CenturyLink if we can tap into that line, and they said yes, we could. So I got some quotes. I think I've sent them to you. Basically, what this is there's several different speeds that we can get, and it's a 5-year contract. The cost comes down for this many years, and I figured we'd probably be in the courthouse at least 5 more years. One thing, what I plan to do is, we have 4 DSL lines right now, 2 in the courthouse and 2 at the sheriff's office. There is a fiber optic line going between the courthouse and the sheriff's office. Right now, that fiber optic line only carries surveillance cameras, but there's no reason it can't carry the internet over to the sheriff's office. So we can tap into the fiber optic in the courthouse and give the sheriff's office fiber optic. More and more of our stuff is going over the internet. The clerk's office has iCounty, the elections go over that. One of the big things over in the sheriff's department is their CAD system is all internet. Recently, the district attorney, one thing that's really killing the sheriff's department is the district attorney has put up a new website where all of their case stuff has to be uploaded to their site, including body cam videos and all that, and audio recordings and all that kind of stuff. That absolutely kills their internet. I mean, their internet just slows down to nothing. Their CAD doesn't respond. We're checking out driver's licenses and license plates and insurance and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff goes to a stop. This will really help with all of that. So my plan is, if we can get the fiber optic in and then phase out the 4 DSL lines, so we'll offset that cost a little bit. Those fiber optic lines, I mean the DSL lines that we have now are about $240 a month combined, and we should be able to phase those out.
I've got some questions. 5 years is a long time with regards to technology, okay? My concern is the 50 up and the 50 down over 5 years. If we get stuck over 5 years, do they have anything else other than a 5-year plan?
They have a 3-year plan, but it's about $50 more. You mean?
Well, I'm just concerned that over 5 years, the use of our internet, especially if we look into...
Oh, we can go up if we want. We can go up. We can't go down without assessing some sort of a penalty. So if we want to go from 50 to 40, then we're locked into the contract. If we want to go from 50 to 80 or 70 or 80, that we can do. We can go up.
I'm looking at, Chuck, how technology changes, and it's changing on a daily basis. So I would hate for us to get into a 5-year agreement at that amount, especially if we're looking towards doing the video internet streaming.
But this should accommodate that pretty easily, because video streaming you need about 3, they're saying about 3 meg upload speed. Right now we have 1.
I don't know, I see some technical people in the audience. Any comments with regards to what's being proposed? Okay.
We can enter into a shorter contract if you want to. I don't think I sent you this 3-year one here. I brought it with me, but...
On this one page that was sent over, are the 3 different speeds.
Right, I'm just right. I wanted
But
to
they're
give
all
you-
5 years.
And they're all 5 years, yes.
But did I understand you correctly, Chuck, that if the technology, we can buy more if it's available without
Yes.
buy it during the term of the contract?
Right, you can always upgrade.
I got it.
Yes, you can always upgrade. It's downgrading that they don't.
I see.
They want you to prove. The 3-year contract, it's about $50 a month more, $750 for the 50 meg. $689 for the 40 and $626 for the 30. So we can do that. I don't know how much the technology is going to change. I mean, this is in 5 years, and this is pretty.
I've got a couple, then I'll call on you just a
Yeah.
second. I have 2 concerns with this. Number one is that we have other technologies available through wireless rather than hardwire. My second concern is that maybe we need both so we have a redundant circle. And what happens, folks, as an example, if the internet is down or is very slow, an officer makes a stop here at Wetmore at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's when we're sending a lot of this stuff, is late at night. If he can't get on and get back the report on the license and the driver's license, that information in a timely manner, we're putting his life at risk if there is in fact a bad situation. So from a public safety standpoint, it's important we have this. But I've had it hammered in my head so much that I'm kind of psychotic, but I think dual systems.
Well, that's fine, but as long as we're willing to spend the money. I asked CCON, who used to be DD Wireless, about wireless several months ago, and their proposal, which wasn't much faster than what we have now, was more expensive. And that's with our government business discounts and all that kind of stuff. So
Let's just things look at. Dale.
My comment would be, and I think all of you know that I've been involved with technology here in the county since I moved here, and we've been involved with a strategic plan for broadband in the county, and we've been involved now with developing a program to get broadband throughout the county in a more effective way that we're nearing the end of. I've long been a proponent that the courthouse needs more bandwidth than it has today. What you have today is almost laughable by having n number of DSL lines. So from that respect, I give Chuck credit. My concern is that you get one chance to do this right. And that is that these ought not be single decision issues. My understanding is that you're looking to renovate the courthouse, renovate the courtroom. We all know that the court systems are moving more and more to video. Prisoners will be brought into the courtroom via video in the future rather than physical presence. Defendants will do the same thing at some point in time. So there needs to be, in my opinion, having lived in this world all my career, that there needs to be a plan put together looking at the courthouse saying, yes, we have fiber into the building. How did that fiber get there? Chuck said that it was put in there by CenturyLink a few years ago for a court-related
no, it was
decision.
just a few months ago.
Just recently.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was still put in for the court systems, is what funded it. And then obviously the funding was given to CenturyLink to install it and then to own it and operate it after that. So there ought to be some coordination made with the court system to make sure that they're in sync with what's being done here, and that because this is the only time you get to negotiate with the vendor who's going to provide the service. The other point I would make to you is that we have worked very hard, and we've had professional input come in from these studies that we've had done, that Custer County has really 3 vendors capable of providing broadband services. One of them is CenturyLink. And let us not kid ourselves that CenturyLink has underserved this county for a long, long time. The reliability of CenturyLink internet is marginal at best. I constantly hear when I'm downtown that it was out for a day, etc. This is the same system that would be providing service to the courthouse. So there needs to be a service level agreement that if that service goes down, there's a penalty to the vendor, because when it goes down, you guys shut down. You might as well send the employees home if they don't have internet today,
Unless we have a backup system.
unless you have a backup system. So we have three vendors. We have CenturyLink, we have CCOM, formerly DD Wireless, and we have Hilltop Broadband. All three of those are capable of doing broadband. So my question would be to Chuck, did he scope out a scope of work for what he wanted to do, capable of providing for the courthouse, the sheriff's office, and the resource annex, because all of those should be tied together into one system, looking forward. So what level of service is he doing it? I can't imagine that the service is going to be less than 100 megabits to support the sheriff, the courts, video streaming for the commissioners, those things that you're already talking about to make sure that you have that. I don't know what your bid is that you've got back, but I heard Chuck mention $750 a month. Generally, megabits ought to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 to $7 per megabit. So if you've got 50 megabits, which I think is inadequate, times 5 to 750, you're looking at $250. So when I see a bid of $750, I'm saying we obviously didn't use competition, true competition, or we wouldn't be looking at that amount of money.
Well, I haven't checked, the only other ones I know that are doing fiber is school and a clinic. The clinic is doing about $700 a month or something like
Right,
that.
I'm
I thought
not-
the school was too.
I have before, Chuck.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The point is that it's not a matter of what somebody else, another anchor institution in Custer County is doing, it's what other people in the state are doing and are negotiating. But to spend that kind of money for internet, that's almost $15 a megabit. That's not where the industry is. So why would you want to pay that kind of money for the next 5 years? So I just say, do a study, back up, make sure you're looking at the whole picture. Don't use what I call the Band-Aid approach or a single issue approach on making this decision.
Then,
Well, we also have our purchasing policy, Chuck, which requires 3 bids. So we would have to look at 2 other resources.
That's fine, I can look at them.
but in Chuck's defense, we asked him to see what we could do to hook on, because we do have an issue immediately with the communications from the sheriff's department. And that's something that, it may be a Band-Aid, it may only be a year contract while we pull the rest of them together. I fully agree with your concept, but I look at where we are right now, and I think we're gonna have to make some kind of a decision in the fairly near term, at least for a short term.
And all I would ask is, as a citizen, if you're going to use a Band-Aid approach, and I like your word, don't do it with a 5-year contract.
No, we won't, but you see where I'm coming from, and this is
I
why we
understand.
asked Chuck, because we're bogged down over here, and we gotta get that speed back to the sheriff's office.
Yep, and the other thing that came up yesterday in our workshop was the connection from the courtroom to the rest of us. So we're gonna have to look at how that's being connected at the same time. And
The courtroom.
the courtroom, if we move forward with changing the footprint of that courtroom with the addition and modifications.
Oh, okay, well, I thought that was with the court, not with the county, but I don't know how all that stuff works.
But we, I guess we'll have a further discussion on how that's going to be connected to the internal
Well,
business.
yeah, and what it is right now, the court put it in on their own nickel. I mean, it was ordered by the Chief Justice to facilitate their court connections. And now we're just exploring it. In the meantime, what can we do? I agree that we need to look at this, follow up our procedures, but I also think we need to address the short-term issue, not a year from now, but, fairly quickly.
These are your decisions to make, but as a tax-paying citizen who pays quite a bit of tax, I use caution when you do this.
I think your point is extremely well taken, and if we're going to Band-Aid it, we need to do it for a very short period of time until we can do what we need to do for longer term.
Thank you.
At the same time, public safety is extremely critical.
That's why the Band-Aid's a problem.
Yeah. And they're trying to do the best they can they're putting a lot of the cases on jump drives and taking them to Canyon City, to the DA's office rather than transmitting them over the internet. And just so you know, Dale, there already is a camera in the sheriff's office for the court. There's already a connection to that. So they can interview inmates in the sheriff's office, and the judge can see them in the chambers. So
That's good.
we already have that
But
technology.
I think probably the next thing, we're getting some data here, and then I think we'll probably have some meetings and talk about it before we move forward.
Yeah, and there's going to be some equipment expenses and stuff because all of our stuff is copper. So
But the other part of this equation, if we look at the caseload that the district attorney has had in the increase in the last 5 years, it's been very dramatic. We've got I don't remember, maybe Shannon just walked in, but I'm trying to remember the numbers, Shannon. We're talking about the fiber to the sheriff's office and so forth. Do you remember how much that caseload has increased from the numbers that Tom gave us last fall? It's like almost,
For the whole judicial district,
well, that's a good place to start. I mean, ours
I
is
think
gone
it's
up.
400%.
How much?
400%.
So see why,
I believe it's the number that he did.
and what has ours gone up? Probably 300%?
Yeah, quite a bit.
Because again, it's, we gotta dig a little deeper, Dale, I fully agree.
I just say do it right once.
John?
I don't know who's involved in negotiating with the vendors. I don't know if Clint or Chuck or whoever, but a lot of times vendors like to, anytime you upgrade, renews the contract for another term. So hopefully whoever's involved in negotiating pays attention to that. Because if you
Well,
upgrade,
I think our group is fully aware of that, John. I appreciate your input, but I think we're ahead of the curve on that. You want something?
No, I was saying we can keep our fingers crossed.
Anything else on the fiber optic at this time? Okay, if not, I would like to back up on the program. I would introduce to you, I'm having an awful hard time saying this, but Cindy Doon. Christy Doon, excuse me. See, I work so hard on the last name, I screw the first name up. Christy, would you like to have the floor?
Sure, well,
At this point, I don't know what your schedule is, but we,
Yeah.
come on up there.
Want me? Where you guys? So, CJ.
Pull this back. Sit down until I find your chair, I just moved it.
There you go. There you go. Good, good.
Good morning,
Good
welcome.
morning. Hi, how are you?
Most of these folks here probably know, but the community building is by and large because of her efforts. She is. She's
Yeah.
done an
No,
awful
no,
lot.
no, no, no. So for the record, my name's Christy Doon. I'm the regional manager with the Colorado Department of Local Affairs. I cover a 10-county region and work with local governments providing financial and technical assistance. So part of my role is to work with counties or municipalities to develop projects, help them develop projects and find funding for that. But I also work with emergency management and recovery efforts. So I'm here for you all to talk about what projects you guys have right now. If there are questions from anybody else, you have a number of contracts open with us. Want to make sure that we're moving along and doing what we need to do. If you need anything from me, so kind of here for you. Yes.
I need $500,000.
Me too.
Our sheriff's department is in substandard condition. We have a kitchen that, I'm afraid to say this in public, but if the code official went in there, it might be an issue. Our laundry room, I barely can squeeze in there. Our food storage is not great. Our facility, and really the sheriff maybe would have saying this instead of me, but we tour it about once a month. And our prisoner locations are pitiful. So if you have your checkbook with you and like to write us a nice check, we'll get to work tomorrow. So bottom line is, I think that really in the future, I personally would like to move forward with something like that.
For the meeting here. This is something we've talked about with Christie. It's nothing new that you're bringing up. We've had these discussions down the road, and it is a very real need. I would like to go back, if I might, Christie, to our first item here. We had this building assessment that we've been working on.
Yes.
Could we maybe
Right.
touch base, see where we are on
Yeah,
that?
we do. So unfortunately, Jeff Wood, who's the field supervisor for the University Technical Assistance Program, is in California right now. So he has been working with students. They came down last fall, and we're doing some assessments of county structures. And it was the contact was with Robin and Kit, because they were Kit was the point of contact at the time when he was commissioner. So we are at a point where we need to figure out what the plan is to move forward, because the students have completed a draft. And I believe it's been sent to the county. Brenda, you should have it. No? Okay. It was.
Been waiting for it.
Okay. You guys were on an email.
Okay.
Because I had a copy of it. So, and I believe that Robin was as well, and I know that's fine. So I will make sure, I think that Jeff gets back on Monday. So I'll make sure that Jeff resends that to you all. And I know that we wanted to have a meeting with you guys to see what the next step was, if it was what you guys were looking for, if not, what we needed to do to kind of regroup, because the students have more time in the summer. That's when they're trying to get their projects completed, when they don't have as many classes. So I will make sure that Jeff resends it.
I remember getting an email, but we were waiting to meet with he and you. So we need to.
Yeah, and we went back and forth so many times on this meeting, what day we could meet with you guys, that he ended up having to go to California in this. So, but it doesn't take him much time. It doesn't take me much time to get over here. So,
As a carryover on here, I'd like to look at 2 or 3 things. First of all, this was a fairly shallow study. The students come in and went through things. We tried to catch up with them and didn't catch them. But they worked on some things. I think that logically to me, the first step is that we get this draft and see what it entails. We've only got, is that a $5,000?
it was something. It's minimal. It's a minimal
Very, very
project.
small amount of grant monies involved in it, so we can't expect a whole lot out of it.
But it was an assessment of all the buildings?
It was. They wanted to look at each of the county-owned buildings and identify maybe opportunities for either reuse, redevelopment, that kind of thing. But I know that there were some liability issues, like the students couldn't be climbing up onto the roof to be checking out a lot of the things. So it was going to be kind of a, as Bob said, peripheral.
How many buildings are there?
I don't know. They were kind of in the process of looking at it, and I don't know what number they ended up with. It's kind of on the sideline of what I do. We contract with the university, and then they have an agreement with the individual local governments.
If I may go back to what I was, this come out of initial series, the county was offered a building that we could take down and put up to make some kind of an all-purpose facility at the fairgrounds. And they got into looking at the costs and started to take the building down. As is usually the case in these, it costs more to disassemble an old building and put a new one up than to just buy a new one. And that was where the initial come through, what we're going to try to have in that building at the fairgrounds. Then the next outgrowth was, well, let's look at what all of our needs are as a county. And that survey then encompassed the needs of the county. I don't know from a practical standpoint, and I suspect maybe nothing was done, but potentially this could have been the link with the community building down here as one of the facilities serving the needs of the county. It could also be linked into the county shop, because that's a facility. But it was just a broad overview of what the county, what we had, and what some thoughts were. These students, I believe, are architect students, so they could give us some ideas of where we were. But it was, at the best, it was a very minimal study with a minimal investment. If we were going to go into the detail that that an architect would want, was looking at probably $200,000 for steps, right? Is that a fair summation, Christie? Does that kind of bring you up to date on where we are? There's a loose end we need to get tied up.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
I do have a question. We had touched on this several months back, but with the fiber off of 29 from CCOM, it was suggested that we pull a meeting together with our commissioners to the south and the north. So I was waiting for you to come here so that we can you could help us facilitate that meeting.
You bet. So I think when we talked at CCI, you guys were going to contact your counterparts in those two counties and we'd identify a date. So just let me know when you guys are ready to do that.
I think,
And we'll probably have Greg Winkler and Nate Wallowitz come down. They're the our broadband.
I think what I would like to do potentially is that we possibly hold it in Westcliff, because for Warfno and Fremont, that's midway.
Sure.
Secondly, I would think we would be, in terms of addressing it, the county commissioners, but also I think we should have our emergency managers there, and any other interested groups that would be a part of that,
Economic development.
part of that link. And you want to take the lead on setting up that meeting? Do we have anything else in that building assessment before we move on? You're
No.
comfortable with where we are?
That's good. We'll just get.
So our action item is, Rick, you're gonna get the report to us, we'll look at it, and we'll get together by telephone and see what we need.
Yeah, I think so. I think that'd be good.
All right. Fiber?
Yep.
The sheriff's building, what else do we have? I think Cindy, do you have anything here you would like to bring us up to date on, from the DOLA and the recovery and the two of you, what you've been doing and stuff?
Well, yeah, we met at the SEMA conference and put the request on hold pending redrafting it. And then I have a conference call with Ian Floyd from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the ERDIC group. And based on where we think that might go, then we're trying to tweak that alert and notification piece in. I did pull up the figures on the Wetmore siren and some things, so I'm just trying to get coordination there. And then Teresa Springer's supposed to meet with me, so hopefully by the end of the week I'll have a little better idea. And then at least, one of the issues with some of that funding is the match, because we'll have to find a match to make a request. And so I'm trying to coordinate with Teresa Springer so that it's a potential federal match from the state DHSEM, but everything's just in bold. There's no funds are being released for
Now,
anything right now.
this is for flood or for mitigation?
This was, the original request was for the alert and notification, the rain gauges and stream gauges, minus the operations and maintenance. And one of the suggestions or kind of directions out of the last recovery meeting was that the USGS still look to partner to fund that, because they're trying to come up with basically $1.5 million for all three fires to create their system in triplicate. And the majority of that funding is on the operations and maintenance side, and that's just not an option through DHSEM. They're not going to fund that amount. They might fund 150 to 200 per county. So I mean, wouldn't be more than $500,000 for all three fires. So we still may have to. But if they would fund like the operations and maintenance, and we're just buying equipment, then it might be an option, because I think that would satisfy the match.
Sure. So I work with Mike Schaub at Emergency Management. He's the recovery officer, and they have the recovery funds set aside, and I know that the request has also gone into them for the notification systems for all three fires, as well as potential staff. So I'm waiting to hear from them on what they're going to fund, so that if there's a gap, that we could look at how we could step in then. The issue is the operation and maintenance of 5 years. There isn't going to be
There's not money for that.
There isn't money for that. So on our side and on emergency management side, we look at the capital costs, very concrete costs. So I think that's going to be the biggest issue on both sides. So, and I was at the Fremont. We were in
Oh, did you
Southern
go?
Colorado, and I did go to the Fremont County recovery meeting as well, and we kind of had the same conversation, just waiting to see what USGS is planning to do, because until they make a determination on what systems they're going to use and if they're going to, pull it in from Kentucky or Tennessee or wherever it was, it's hard for us to go under contract, or for Deshem to go under contract without knowing what the actual plan is.
What would our match be, what percentage?
Well, we could use
Between-
our we could use our funds to match Deshem's grants if we
So
could
we would
just
be okay.
coordinate it. Yeah, we just need to get it coordinated, and right now we're just kind of waiting for things to.
Typically it's 50%.
Typically it is, but in emergency situations we look at less, 15 or
Oh.
25% usually. But like I said, a lot of times it can be matched from a different source, and if the recovery funds from the state are being used, so we're just trying to figure out who's paying for what right now.
Something else I think fits along this, and it may not be a possibility, but the NRCS does maintain what we call snow-tail sites all across the west to measure moisture and snowfall and so forth. I don't know if there'd be any way we could convince them to assist in the monitoring of this on a short-term basis, because they're in the monitoring business. I'm going to visit with her tomorrow and see, but I don't know if that would work or not. But again, that's another agency that has the technical ability. I'm not talking putting pillows up there on the hill. This would involve manual monitoring. Let's see if maybe they can't help us.
And I think a lot of it is it communicates via, you get some of, like on the research side, you get the data by going up and having your cell phone, a couple hundred feet from the device. On the alert and notification side, I'm not sure quite how it coordinates. It's probably, I think they stage them to where they can tie into somebody's landline. They were looking at some phone lines and things, because you've got to, the one on the top of the mountain, it's got to be satellite or something, and we're going to require, we're going to have to coordinate with National Weather Service heavily too. But, the other thing out there, like the ERDIC group is looking at project funding for initially 2 to 4 years, but Ian wants to go 10 years. There's already some foreshadowing on the 2018 horizon that FEMA flood mapping, hazard mitigation funding, Army Corps of Engineers, and probably USGS, and a bunch of those agencies are targeted for big cuts, and that potentially, we're not seeing any movement yet in 2017, and it could be, a battle to see things.
Well, I don't know what the technology they're using right now, but 15 years ago, these snow pillows, basically you could trigger a response, and this seemed really weird, but it works. But they would actually be sending out, and it would bounce off the meteorite dust back to the station. So it might take 3 or 4 minutes for it to get a response back. But these measurements are all taken long distance remotely. And I don't know what that technology is, but again, that might facilitate something on the hill. And if that was the case, then we would qualify maybe for you, because we're buying equipment. We're not maintaining it, we're buying the equipment
Right.
that we would use for the remote sensing, so that would facilitate the data gathering and so forth.
Sure. Yeah, we're just
Yeah, and
waiting
then-
for whatever technology it is that.
Right, and Pueblo County's going with, I think they're looking at that company out of Canyon City. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, so they're going a completely different direction, but USGS still has the proposal in for that, so, but nothing's, like Krista said, nothing's moving at DHSEM, and we do have templates to write some letters, and, I think we need to get Kevin Klein motivated at the state level, so.
How soon do you think we might have an idea?
I don't know. It's not my agency. So I told Mike to let me know, Mike Schaub.
Who should we visit with? Can we keep our nose out, or can we help?
No, I think that I would work through Cindy, or, your contact there. Kevin Klein is the director. So he would probably be the one that you'd want to contact, because I know Mike has taken everything from the local level up to his directors.
And the Hayden Pass fire, which is the original USGS request for the $500,000, that's been at DHSEM since October or November. So, and now they've just asked Mike to, multiply that times 3. but it's, you know, it's not being moved on. Nothing's been moved on.
Yeah, I think we need to, let's get together and see if we can follow through, but my concern is that 6 months, we don't need this. We'll have already been through a rainy season. We need what we can get as soon as we can get something going. If we got some money, it would be available fairly soon.
It does take a bit of time to get through our contracting process, but, 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Just
that's what I
generally.
mean, rather than 6 months.
But without the match, we're looking at 175,000, I think, for the equipment. Without a match from another agency, you know, you're
We're
looking at.
talking about her and the other agency together to facilitate it.
Yeah.
So we'll,
That's the hurting cats part.
While Christie is sitting in front of us, I'd like to take you back to the renovation and the modernization of the courthouse complex, if that's all right. The question I have is that generally when a design project is done for a renovation modernization, part of the architectural delivery is a page that just details the low voltage cabling system for the building, so that you don't do these one by one by one by one, so that they've already met with the various vendors that are going to provide such things as the voice, data, visual surveillance, access control, PA system, and the fire alarm system, so that they're on that page in the architectural drawings. My question, was such a plan incorporated into the architectural contract for this modernization and renovation?
It's interesting that you asked, because we asked these same questions yesterday, and we've asked them to come back with some follow-up information. Now,
So the answer is no, but
no, it's
being
one of the,
addressed.
it's one of the areas of concerns that we haven't got answers to yet.
Okay.
But the problem we have, which everybody needs to realize, is that this doesn't include the administrative part of the courthouse. Whatever we get from this grant is only for the court facilities.
And that is through the underfunded courthouse.
I understand money's your problem. I'm saying that from a technical point of view,
Well,
when you're
it has nothing to do
renovating
with
and
Christie's,
modernizing
so.
a building, you should include this effort. Even if you elect not to do it, you ought to know what you didn't do.
are you guys applying for that? Or did you
It's
already
on the
receive the
agenda.
funds?
We've
Two
received
more
funds.
spots, the underfunded courthouse. We met yesterday in a workshop.
Construction, the planning.
The initial proposal did not include it. We sent back to the architects that were bidding on this that needed to be included. So while I appreciate what you're saying, I think
Well,
we're working on it.
and Donna's a contact, not a, she's facilities.
But we may be coming to you, Christie, for extra funds if that hasn't been looked at and it needs to. And they're
So,
bidding.
if we decided to try to do something in the rest of the courthouse, would you be able to give us any support, do you think? I'm not asking for a yes or no, just an indication.
It's an eligible project.
Perfect. That's all I wanted. That's the answer I was trying to get. I don't want to put us in a corner.
I really hard to give you what you want.
I'd a whole lot rather say, you want to go to the dance and then you tell me no.
You practiced that response
I have
before.
practiced it.
Well done.
Not my first.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good point, yeah.
Thank you.
What else do we have?
Good.
Okay, we have, back to here, help me out, we're going to have a inspection walkthrough. What do we need to do? I know we need to put a sign up down here at the community building.
Okay.
That says DOLA. What else do we have?
So you'll, when it's completed, you'll publish your notice of final payment to the contractor. That's a requirement for you to close that out. You will have to, whatever inspections you need at the local level. So making sure that you have your certificate of occupancy to kind of close out the project with us. I can come down. I'm happy to come down to walk through. You do not need you don't need me to sign off on anything physically, as long as you have you've published a notice of final payment and you have a CO for the building that shows that you've done all of your other inspections. And then we could, you could submit all of the paperwork to us and we can close out the contract. And then if you're planning on having a grand opening, if you would let us know, that would be great. And if any of us can make it, we absolutely will. I can order a permanent plaque for the building if you would like something. I can do that. It just says, the funds from the Energy and Mineral Impact Fund helped, contributed to this project. Kind of thing.
I'm not sure, and I want to work with the local folks here, but a couple of things we're thinking about. The man who had been our county attorney for 40-some years is retired, and John has a challenge going to high elevation. So we're looking at having some kind of a celebration for John Naylor here at the building.
Okay.
And I want to work with these folks if we want to do that as a separate event, or if we want to have a grand opening, have Dola here, wherever else we can get his things and honor John, and we want to make that as one event. I want these folks to help us, and Jay helps us take the lead on that. But I think I want to have something down here because this is a culmination of a lot of work and a lot of cooperation between a lot of different agencies.
Yeah, great. Yeah, just keep us posted.
We'll keep you posted on this.
On the plaque, how far in advance do you need to know? What's the lead time on that?
It is a bit of lead time, so I'm gonna head up to Denver, or I can just order it today. It doesn't cost you anything.
Is there anybody from Wetmore here who would be opposed to putting a small plaque up helping
Well,
where it came from?
this is something we agreed to early on in part of the project.
You guys can do it.
So it's done. I mean,
Yes, we'd like the plaque first.
okay, gosh. I'm so excited to see. I can't remember all I wanted to ask you now. Anything else that you can think of, or people in the audience help jog our memory?
That's a pretty big list you have right
And good, yeah, I got stuff to do the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for everything you do for just,
great.
not only us, but for everybody. I mean, your name is spoken daily.
Which name?
Thank you. I mean that
Sure.
sincerely.
Thank you. It was very good to see you. Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Ben.
And we'll be talking.
Okay, yeah, just let me know and then we'll.
Let's give Dola a hand. Okay. The next on the agenda will be PILT funds with Cindy Howard. Be safe.
Okay, I drafted a public notice based on our HELT workshop a couple weeks ago. So there's,
I
someone.
got it.
You got it? I did both, so I don't know what has it. And then I've got the frequently asked questions on the secure rural schools, if you want that again, and I printed out the right proposal from Webb as well to give you a copy of that, but it's all emailed to you as well. Just I didn't know if you'd have a chance to get them. So still looking at on that public notice, getting started with the community fire protection planning. Given the proposal from Webb, he wants me to give him a call back. I put in $23,000 towards that. The proposal's closer to 40, but it's a la carte, and we can pick and choose some things. And we can also put it out to bid. It doesn't have to be with a particular vendor. That's I think 35, 37 mile stretch, so I still think it's a good effort to get going there. And I think, when he realizes we put that out to bid, he'll probably be a little bit more flexible. Some of the pricing on that for the community meetings and stuff seemed high to me, and that might be a place where I can negotiate that my intern helps with some of that, or we find another way. Another thing, the individual inspections at $6,000. It's only $15 per inspection, but that might be something where Wet Mountain Fire would help us do that, because we have gone out on some of these other ones and done it for no charge to the community. I'm not sure how they did that at the Woods, which was only like 22 homes, and I'm not sure what they're gonna do in Corona Verde. That's a lot more homes. And then I put the balance of $15,000 towards the fuels reduction, and I didn't specify an area, but that's where we're looking to work within 200 feet of homes down basically from 96 up to 387, and reduce some of those fuels. And that would be hopefully 2 weeks Swift crew at the 15,000 because that's 7,500 a week. Teresa did send an email back that one of her AmeriCorps crews she was trying to get, they're fully committed, and so if we had to go with a private Sawyer crew, we're probably looking at 10,000 a week, but I'm still hoping that we could get the Kansas City Swift crew.
Right. You were gonna look into the timeline that he submitted to see whether he would be interested in reducing his costs.
Well, so I'm not sure the timeline versus the cost. He is available to start and make this a summer project. He's gonna be in the field today, so I can.
So we could work with him in
We could-
phases. That's what we.
Oh, yeah, yeah, because like at the 23, if we can't negotiate on price, basically if we were to publish this, and I wrote it based on publication on Friday, with a, my date is in here, because I did the May 8th being my 45 days, and I did go back through the wording and the notification, needing to have it in the public minutes, and then the public comment period closing, and then taking an action. So I don't know what the commissioner's meeting is after May 8th, but yeah, he sent an email and saying, yeah, he's got availability. If we give him the word, he wants me to call him after this meeting, and so I'm hoping we could do two things: reduce the overall cost, but then also if that 2016 PILT funding comes in, then we can republish if we're not quite finished. Yeah. And basically, otherwise, look at some other.
Now, how does this tie in with the $500,000 project?
The
one that NRCS is involved in?
This has nothing to do with the NRCS.
There's no tie-in with that mitigation?
I don't know that NRCS, you're talking about the emergency watershed protection?
No, well.
Oh, you're talking about EQIP. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, yes, the reason the song, and I've got the maps in the car, but the reason the Sangres Foothills was chosen was because of all the work that the U.S. Forest Service has done up there, the work that NRCS is doing through the EQIP program, and then the work in the hazard mitigation plan that's defining that area as the viewshed and protecting the viewshed. So there's a lot of existing fuels reduction in that area, and if we can get those communities tied in with a plan and working towards goals, then we can build upon the successes already happening up there. But there is no funding tie-in.
No, but there should be a project, an overall objective.
Yeah, so they would put, they would build those plans into the goals of the individual community plans, just like we did with hazard mitigation. We want any projects they're working on, and then their projects are funded that 5-year, I think it's 5-year, $500,000 EQIP funding, and most of the homeowners in that project are in that area. I think if they have some leftover funding, then EQIP will fund some projects outside of that area, but most of that money's up there. So this would be the planning side and not the fuel side.
Because recently the Forest Service has done a lot of mitigation over here. That big lumber project up on Greenhorn is a big mitigation project. They've done some stuff over by the Boy Scout camp.
Right.
They've done some other projects along this side, which 10 years ago.
12 Mile Greenhorn, the Boy Scout camp.
Yeah, see, so this was written in 2007. Initially, there was nothing over here.
Right.
2007, but now there are mitigations over here. So.
Yeah, and we'll still work to try to get get communities to keep working their individual CWPPs. This is sort of a jump start. It'd be nice if we had the capacity to do this in-house, then we could, be out trying to get more communities involved. The Woods is moving forward on theirs with John Grieve, and then Corona Verde is. So John Grieve is a resource of, do-it-yourself CWPPs. I think he's going to be taxed and have some capacity issues.
What investment are these neighborhoods making in this project?
They have to participate and develop the plan. The vendor can't just say, here's your plan. It's just like the hazard mitigation plan. There have to be community stakeholder meetings. It has to be community driven, or the state won't approve the plan.
Are they going to provide any voluntary labor? Are they going to provide any other than just...
Well, that depends on what their plan says, what their goals are going to be. So in the end, it's kind of just like, and I'm using that as the example, but they have to come up with their own plans, and so to give you an example, what the Woods at Buck Mountain is doing is they've identified evacuation routes. Some of them cross other landholders. They've posted evacuation signs. They've gone and identified all their landing zones, safe zones, turnaround zones for fire trucks. They've done GPS coordinates on those, and they're incorporating that into their mapping. They've gone by structure and done an assessment, and then it's scaled on a 1 to 5. Jim Webb takes the approach, it's either you can defend it or you can't defend it. But it gives the firefighters up front some maps and some tools to say, these are the structures that are actually defendable. These are the places that, we can evacuate to. So from the life safety perspective, I'm asking them to add in the evacuation plan. So there's a lot of components, and you can see it on the State Forest website, but it's kind of broken down into what the state requires the plan to be, which has that community participation and then those goals. But then the fire chief, so in this case Dave Tonsing, if we start working plans down here, it'll probably be D. Murphy and more Wet Mountain. But what are their requirements? They don't want to drive over buried cisterns. They don't want to see culverts be made out of PVC or something where a fire truck's going to collapse that and people are going to get hurt. They want to see all the properties, numbered. And then from the emergency management side, what do I want to see? Which is part of that evacuation alert and notification. How are you going to let each other know? How are we going to account for people if you're evacuated? Some of those kinds of things. So once the Woods gets done and Corona Verde, we're going to try to keep spinning some of these on our own. But Jim's done some in Levita. He's doing some for Fremont County. He's been working with Steve Morrissey there quite a bit. The Pete McGee, I think his name is, that does the mapping. Kit has worked with him a lot in the past, and probably Jackie's husband as well on the. Sorry, wrong Jackie. On the GIS side for the mapping. I think Dan knew of Pete too. So, but anyway, so he's got a component in there on the GIS stuff. But in the end, there's a lot of mapping and things that are designed more for the fire protection and the sheriff's office and the emergency response side than for the community.
Does your office coordinate all this? Who coordinates all of this?
Well, PILT funding is federal funding that helps to do this. In the past, I think the county commissioners have taken the lead.
Does somebody give a stamp of approval on it?
The State Forest Service, John Grieve has to sign off on the plan or the plan's not adopted. And then on the fact sheet, some of the funding that we looked at the workshop that could be spent had to be part of the Firewise communities, and there's a whole separate process to become involved in that. And I think as the PILT funding is renewed, they're looking to make some changes. The last changes were made in 2015, I think. So.
Where we are on this is an update, maybe. The PILT funds have always been a question mark. Well, what are we going to get? Well, now we got this much this year. Okay, let me guess what it's going to be next year. Well, we got this much. I don't know what's going to happen down the road. I don't know how closely you've watched the news the last 2 or 3 days, but a lot of departments are taking a big hit in terms of budgets. And one of the issues that they're looking very seriously at is PILT. So we may not have PILT in 2 years. I mean, the purpose was payment in lieu of taxes, so the federal government's helping support programs that would be tax driven, but they don't pay any taxes in the county. But this comes out of a budget item every year, and I don't know at this point in time, I'm like probably 99% of America, what's going to be, how is all this going to fit together? I see that the Forest Service is looking at a 15% reduction, I think. BLM's taking a pretty hard hit. And when it comes down to the PILT funding, again, I don't know what that's going to be. So it's something we use when we have it. And in the past, we just kind of scattered it around. And the commissioners are the ones that have that responsibility. And this year, we felt we needed to pull it together and try to have a more complete
Well, in Public Law 114-10 that was, that extended the act in 2015, tightened up the restrictions. So in the past, I think we've used it on some GIS and some plotters and some fire equipment and some money to Wetmore Fire and different things. And now it's really mitigation planning or boots on the ground mitigation within 200 feet of the structure. So I can't do field breaks around county roads unless that house is within, you know, the right of way that's within 200 feet. So it's gotten a lot more restrictive. And I think if they extend this again, we're going to see from what the gal that was out here with CMAT, Pam, I think we're going to see some more restrictions based on what she was saying.
And the other thing we have this money and we either have to spend it or we have to return it.
Yep.
So that's the purpose of trying to get this now. We've got it, let's not give it away.
And
What's
I
the
think
deadline on that?
the deadline for publication of intent is not until September of 2017. But we have some immediate needs, and I think the fuels reduction, the $15,000 for the Swift cruise is a completely an immediate need in my mind. I think we're decades behind on the process, so.
And we're hoping to use some of these funds for hard shovel creek right here through Whitmore.
It'll be a start, so.
Okay. Question?
So
So what do you need?
I need a motion, and then I'll
We
need,
need to approve this.
I'll need it in the minutes, and then I'll take this over to the newspaper if you're comfortable with this. Otherwise, I'll tweak it.
You're talking about your public notice.
The public notice.
That's what the motion needs to contain, is items in the public notice.
Yeah, or the, yeah, if you want it.
I don't know if you're gonna get it in this week, yeah. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get it in this week. If not, we're gonna have to push that May 8th date to May 15th and publish the 24th date to the 31st. So,
She probably will.
I have no problem with what we have in this public notice. Do either of you have
I didn't have-
questions or concerns?
I have a question. I'm just not sure I follow this.
the language?
The Custer County Board of Commissioners is proposing an expenditure of an estimated $23,000 of community protection planning and Sunbury to Christopher, and the balance of approximately $15,000. Is that an additional $15,000?
It's an additional 15,000, and what I did was I drafted it off of we have right now $38,274.33 that we have to spend. So those are adding up to 38, and I drafted it off the language from the public notice in 2012, which I was given, and that's how they did it, the balance of approximately. And then I noticed too that in 2012, what was proposed and what was actually spent varied quite a bit, so I'm not sure how that was reconciled, or if it came back in a public meeting or what, but that would take care of basically the 38,000 we have now, and then I'm hoping we'll have another 18,000 soon, which would allow us to finish the project if we're short with Mr. Webb or another vendor, and then we could put the rest, as we talked about at the workshop, we would put the rest back towards the fuel reduction again, and then we had talked about doing that based on the communities that are doing their own wildfire protection plans. Once John Grievous signed off on those, then those communities would become eligible for actual fuel reduction projects. And I think that would be, if funding did potentially keep coming in 18, 19, 20, I think we continue to let the communities that are taking the action apply for funding to actually do the work. And get away from paid planners and get more of the grassroots, boots on the ground stuff that we want to see long term. But it's, just a capacity issue at the moment.
Okay. Can I just make a suggestion, just for clarification? In where it says estimate $20,000 of fire protection planning in the Sunbury Christos foothill, and then I think just for clarification, maybe an additional expenditure of the balance of approximately 15,000, just so we understand that it's the full 38,000 as opposed to. Is that acceptable with you?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do I hear a motion?
Other than that, I thought it's fine.
Do I hear a motion to this effect?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion, we accept it with the additional clarification language.
I'll second that motion, Steve.
Thank you.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Great job, thank you.
And an additional expenditure of
I think
the balance of.
that makes
Okay.
it clearer to me.
At this time, we just finished the Dallas here next, but if you wouldn't mind, I would like to maybe try to slip Shannon in so he can leave and go back on,
Sure.
you know, whatever he does besides write tickets for people in a hurry.
Anything for my buddy.
I was anticipating to be at the end because I need to text Ruth Roper to have her.
Oh, you're all right
come
then?
over.
Okay, we'll just go
Okay.
forward then.
Yeah, just if you wouldn't mind.
No, I was just trying to get you out of the meeting.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I'll be good. Dallas wants to go.
Dallas, you're up, sir.
Okay. I might be able to get up.
Uh-oh, you gave some blood.
Yeah, all over the
I
place.
recognize those.
Okay, this will be kind of short and sweet. You should have a copy of the agreement for use of the airport for model airplanes. And all I need on that is your approval. This is the copy that I got from Mr. Smith. He looked through it, he wrote it, so we assume that it's legally good. At our last meeting of the airport board, they looked it over and approved it, so all we need is your approval of that document, and we'll start signing people up.
Do we need an actual formal motion or just a concurrence?
What's the best way to handle this? Does this need to be a resolution?
No, it's, excuse me, you can approve it, or you just say that looks fine to you. I mean, this is discretionary on their part, and I think it's more a matter of courtesy showing it to you than necessity.
You feel very comfortable with what we have here?
Yeah, drafted form is fine.
Well, I didn't see any changes that I thought of, but do either of you have any comments on this?
That was fine.
All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the agreement for the use of Silver West Airport, Butler Field by model airplane enthusiasts.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then we have, we don't even have to sign this, do we?
No.
Okay. Good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Next item. The invitation to bid for the fuel dispenser. You have a copy of that. If you don't, I brought some extras.
That was in our last meeting, I think. Go ahead.
Well, anyway, I don't know if we need Clint to look this over.
Have you looked at this?
I have.
You have?
The dates and all that I put in it, I was hoping to have a completion by the 24th of May. It's not going to take long once the bid is let. The company that did an inspection for us last fall, Eaton from Colorado Springs, I asked him how long it would take to install the new pump and certify it and all that. And he said the better part of a day, 2 at the most. So the dates that I put in here, I think it would give any contractor plenty of time to get the new pump. And he said that the matter of the piping and all to be connected, anything extra over what's out there, he said it would be minimal. So it wouldn't be like a 1,000 feet of special pipe or anything. Because all that's in excellent shape anyway.
I reviewed this, and of course I was, part of the discussion when we were
Right.
talking about this. I'm no expert on fuel dispensers, so I'm assuming that the requirements that you have in your request meet the standards that other airports have done when they've asked for this type of thing also?
Well, under scope of work, I pretty much took word for word the proposal that we got from Eaton as to what they would do, and I added number 9 so that they'd gather up all their extra packing and junk and stuff like that and take it home with them.
In going through this, from the standpoint of the process, I think you've covered everything. We're pretty straightforward. It's a fairly simple process. That does not appear that there will have to be any changes in electrical service.
None.
And from that, it's just, disconnect and taken out. Hooking up and throwing away.
Yeah, I would just request a certificate of insurance.
Okay.
That's a good point.
So,
So if something happens while he's doing that,
yeah.
he's insured. It doesn't come back on us as a county.
Okay, I can add that.
The other question I have, and I'm not sure, but the bottom sentence says that the bid will be awarded at this time. We won't see these bids until April the 28th. And if we have any questions, we're not going to be in a position to award them at that time.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Yeah,
a week or maybe till the next meetings or whatever. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. If we just took out that one little sentence,
Yeah,
individually
take
during
that one
that time,
sentence
the
out.
rest of it,
Okay,
I
take
think
that
is a
out.
good point.
Okay.
And your insurance issue is a good one, Donna. You could just even put that as a number 10, provide insurance
Right,
certificate.
yeah.
I think that would solve it for us. Other than that, I'm good to go on it unless you guys have something.
I would just double check with Donna on how the wording should be on the certificate of insurance.
Okay,
She'll have that wording for you.
I can do that.
Okay.
Good job.
And then my next question is, do you want me to mail these out, or Brenda, or and getting it in the newspaper? I can do that too.
I'm fine with you handling it unless my colleagues feel otherwise. I think you know how to do it as well as us.
Okay. Yeah. In my
Just a second. According to our policy, will this fit into the policy? Because
We
normally,
need 3 bids.
yeah, but do we have anything in the policy as to who handles that? They do the independent, each company, each entity seeking the bids,
We don't have
as
it.
far as we're concerned, is fine.
I
It's
read
not
that
there
policy
yet.
just the other day. I don't remember
It's
seeing
not
it.
there.
We're fine.
There's nothing
That's
like
fine.
that in
I
it.
just want to be sure that we follow the right protocols within our purchasing agreements.
We're going to send it to 4 different companies.
Good.
They've all indicated that they have the capability to do this kind of job. The Cutter Aviation out of Albuquerque, the guy that contacted me from there used to work with a company at Pueblo Airport, and he said that while Dale Mullen was the chairman out there, he did some work for the board then.
Not just this. Do we ever get that stuff changed that had Dale's name on it out there?
Yeah.
But are you finally?
It only took 27
It
bids.
disappeared.
Yeah, we got
It's
that.
taken us 2 years, 3 years.
Almost 4.
I do have one question for Dallas.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's been covered in your internal workings, but I want to hear it. Anytime you turn off the fuel capability, this ability to sell fuel at an airfield, that can have an impact on a transient pilot who is planning to buy his fuel here. I'm assuming that there will be no TAMs that will be put out when you're doing this work.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. That's all I need to hear.
Yep.
I don't think we need any other action than just to verbally instruct the airport to go ahead and seek the bids, and this is, to be clear, this is authority to seek the bids, not to make the purchase,
Okay, right.
okay?
Yeah, the approval of the bids will be Board of Commissioners.
Okay, anything else?
One last item. The say weather system has been ordered. They did have a little bit of a price increase, just a little over $200. So our price is $32.50. And it should be here in about 3 weeks. I talked to him on the phone, what's today? Last Friday. And he said that they're waiting on a couple of parts that they have to get in to complete the system. But he's all excited. And they did give us a bit of a discount on their regular prices. Just because we're a little airport, I guess.
And the installation you folks are gonna do, right?
Right, well, and
People are gonna do.
we'll consult with Chuck on it also.
Great. Wonderful.
All right,
Good report.
anything else on the airport?
That's it.
Thank you, Chris, for any work you do. I don't mean to be moving the person along here, we do have a ways to go, and we do have some time constraints today.
I don't know when this feels like dancing, but
Okay. Underfunded courthouse.
It's just nice to get up.
That was something that I had on there that I halfway anticipated there would be an acceptance of a bid, but since we
Maybe,
scheduled another workshop, then it can be.
Just a discussion of notice of the future workshop, which is 1 o'clock on May 29th.
March.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Next
Of
week.
course, everybody's
You like the
invited.
May?
Of course.
That's planning ahead.
Okay. Do you have anything you'd like to share at this time?
I'm looking good.
Any questions from the groups in the audience? I think we're all pretty well up to date on what's happening. Are we still on schedule as per our new schedule? We're wrapping up pretty quickly.
I think we're doing well.
All right, we'll move on then to the next item, which is staff reports, and that will be,
Would you like to go into the health department first?
okay. At this time, I will recess, do I hear a motion to recess the Board of County Commissioners meeting and to reconvene at the Custer County Board of Health?
so we should say yes.
Yes.
So moved.
I hear the motion to do that?
Yeah, I didn't realize we had to do that. Okay.
Yeah. Please, I'll second it so we can have, and ask for discussion.
Okay, go ahead.
What is this about? I'm sorry to be naive, but I don't understand how this process works.
Okay, we are the Board of Health.
Right.
We don't have another committee, we are the Board of
I
Health.
understand that.
So in order to conduct Board of Health business, it's not a part of the Board of Commissioners business. We change hats and put a Board of Health hat. So normally what we do, we will recess our county commissioner meeting, we'll reconvene as a Board of Health, address those issues, then when we're done, we will adjourn the Board of Health and reconvene the county commissioners.
Thank you. I understand. Now,
Okay, sorry about that.
call the question.
All in favor, say
I didn't
aye.
understand. Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thank you for explaining.
All right, Board of Health, Jackie.
Okay, so you probably, pardon?
I was just wondering if I could be called doctor now.
Okay.
Never mind. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You probably received a letter from Brown Mountain Water and Sanitation concerning something that they probably should have done years ago.
Right.
But they would like to have a resolution stating that no septic systems will be allowed around their gallery well. And I guess that the report, I didn't figure you guys would like to see that, so I do have a copy of it in my office, is the report that's referred to by Round Mountain Water.
So I'm hoping that you'll just go ahead and do a resolution. I think they figured out that once they sold that property, that a gentleman had come in and wanted to have a septic system. And he said that Round Mountain told him he couldn't because he was too close to the gallery well. And then I told him, well, they don't have no teeth in their thing, and so now we're gonna make some teeth in it. And so we need a resolution, which is just a health issue. They don't want no septics close to that gallery well.
Now, would these be permanent or false teeth?
Yeah, they don't have no teeth.
What we're
So-
concerned, folks, with this being a public water supply is the potential of underground contamination because of septic tanks. Counselor, have you had a chance to look at this? We'd maybe draft this and have it for our next meeting, would that be reasonable?
Yeah, I can do that, I'm just looking to see
Jackie, does that make sense to
exactly
you?
what they want here.
I basically think that I sent you a new draft. Round Mountain has already agreed to it. Is their new draft have signatures? Where, no, for the commissioners or?
Oh, I
No, I
haven't seen
think I'll,
that.
next week, it'll be fine next month. I just need approval for a resolution for them, please.
Okay.
I can do a resolution and have it ready for the next meeting or first part of April, whenever.
That'll be
I
great.
guess I'm just, basically our resolution is just adopting their source water protection plan.
I think it's basically they want something stating that, since we're the,
We're the Board of Health that sets the regulations and they want us to regulate that because it's in the county, not within the city limits.
correct. And since they want something in the zoning office that says that we won't allow them to have a septic system.
Well, won't allow anybody in that subdivision to have a septic system.
No one. For miles.
I object to that. There's too many ranches around there.
Yeah, there's only one property
Do we
right
have
now.
a distance?
Yes, we do. It's 1,000 feet around that gallery well.
So that
1,000
needs to be
feet
in the resolution.
And I think
Radius.
included in your,
Radius.
in your packet, you should have a map. Yep.
Okay, I can do a resolution.
Mine's a copy.
Look at how.
It says
ugly.
1,000 feet. I
Looks
took
like this circumference is 1,000.
But there's a little dot in the middle there that,
Okay, so this is what the little, no, maybe he didn't get the dot one.
I got the dot.
I got the dot.
You got a dot on yours?
I got it, yeah,
Okay,
right,
that's
right
where the,
smack in the middle.
that's where the gallery well is.
Okay, well, I see no other action required at this time other than to proceed with the resolution. Does that make sense to you? Okay. What else for
The next
public
one
health?
was, that you have on your agenda is a variance for a gun lock.
But that's planning and zoning.
No,
That's public
that's
health?
public health, because instead of putting in a septic, we were gonna allow him to have a porta potty.
Oh. I misunderstood.
But now the tide has changed. There was some the confusion this weekend, so we're gonna put him on hold. So if you'll disregard the file number for a Daniel Gunlock until the dispute is over with, and then we'll go from there.
So it's tabled.
We'll just postpone this. We'll table it.
Table that one. But in his place, I brought Henderson. And Henderson would like the same thing. He is camping on his property and he wants to stay on his property for,
I don't have Henderson.
no,
Okay.
because we were tabling Gunlock, I brought this one in. And what he wants is a travel trailer for 20 days, a year. And so he would like permission to have a variance to put a porta potty on his property. Here's the deal. The Custer County has septic regs stating that anytime you live on your property, it's for the state of Colorado, plus the plumbing code, you have to have a septic system. the plumbing code says you have to have at least one flushing toilet in your dwelling to pass the plumbing now. And now the plumbing code is connected with the septic rate. So as that evolves, then if you come in, you say that you want a septic system, then we fill out the paperwork and you get a septic system. But if you say, no, I don't want a septic system, but I still want to live on my property, no, you can't do that anymore. You have to have an engineer saying that you don't have enough room for a septic system or the rock's too bad. But we also have what we call a variance from the on-site wastewater treatment system regulations. We have come to the conclusion that it's easier if the commissioners okay these, because sometimes they get out of hand. At one time, the zoning office had released 100 and some of them.
In 1 year?
No, but it was a little while, but we had 100 and some variances out there. So what I'm saying is, some of these people are just 20 days. Like this gentleman says he's just gonna be up here 28 days a year. Will you allow him to have a porta potty?
My question would be, how do we know it's 20 days and not 220 days?
Exactly, that's the problem. And how do we know, even if we gave him a chemical portable toilet, if he is dumping it in an RV park? That's the problem where we got, because you figure that the few that we do still have out, they're easy to, and they could bring their receipts in saying that they dumped it at the RV park or porta potty. And this gentleman has a shed on his property. He took out, and he's got a variance for a construction porta potty, but now he wants a full-time porta potty. So it's up to the commissioners to either deny or okay it as the public health department.
Is this a commercial porta potty like Oak would bring, or another company like Oak would bring?
No, it would be like a Walmart one where you pull the tray out, or you live in your trailer, they have those portable ones on wheels that you dump. Then you'd have to take it to a dump station.
Can I ask one more question? Has any of those been done where we said if you do not bring your receipts in a timely manner, the variance will end at that point? I mean, could we make it contingent upon proof that he's only there 20 days or something to that effect?
But here's the deal. We have them bring in proof of a receipt that they purchased one, like if they're purchasing it from Camping World or something.
Right.
But you can take it home and dump it in your toilet.
Gotcha. So we would never know.
I've got some questions on this. First of all, a travel trailer is a self-contained unit.
Correct.
And as such, it has the capacity to store waste and the capacity to be moved to a dumping station to empty it. If you can get a travel trailer onto a property, you obviously can get it off the property. If we have put a porta potty on there that does nothing to the gray water, and we come back to what is your source of water, how does that fit into the whole scheme of, you know, if you're gonna have a septic tank, you gotta have a source of water, right? So from the trailer living in it, where do they get their water? I mean, to me, it's a fairly simple matter. You go to town and empty the tanks and fill your water tank, because then all the water you've got's in the water tank, and the water in the water tank will be contained in the two sewer tanks.
I agree with that, but you still, per the zoning, and you would need a variance, because we have no control when it comes to a health issue, like saying, well, we don't care if you camp on your property, because a lot of people camp on their property. We just want to make sure where your waste goes, so that's part of the variance.
But I think the point being, instead of allowing them to put porta potties all across the country, you're gonna bring up a travel trailer and live in it, then you go dump it. You see where I'm coming from?
Correct, and I agree with that. You bring it in, you need to, but a lot of times people don't want to, because they have to take everything and put it away, and take the jacks from out from underneath of it, and that's why it's easier just to pull the plug and let the sewage go out on the ground.
But I see no reason. I've camped a lot in a travel trailer, and it's, it's not that big a deal because that's what they're designed for. And I say, if we dump them on the ground, well, we bust them.
Yeah, but who's gonna be the watchdog?
She wanders around and knows what's happening. There's lots of people out there that are involved in our internet or in our information net.
Would it make sense, I'm just throwing this out as a thought, that if a variance like this is approved, you must sign a contract with an Oak or a company similar to Oak's for a physical porta potty, and in that contract, you're paying for it will be dumped at specific intervals, so we know that a professional is taking care of this as opposed to, as you say, opening the plug on the bottom. Has that been thought of, or is that a suggestion that could work?
I do it.
The other thing, with that, they don't even need a porta potty. They just contract Oak to come in and suck it out. They also can hire somebody that delivers water, which is what we do for our events.
And I'm fine with it. I just would like some kind of verification that this gray water is not going into the ground. That's what I'm
No, that's a
concerned
great idea. That would solve a lot of this, is saying that you have to contract with a company that is in this. So why don't I change my form and come back next month and...
I love the idea.
Anything else for health?
Good plan.
No, health's over with.
Okay, at this time, do I hear a motion to adjourn the Custer County Public Health Committee and to, pardon me, John?
Can I ask one question before you adjourn? On the Gallery well, how many people are affected by that? Have they been notified?
On the what?
On the Gallery well, on the 1,000 foot, how many people are affected by that? How many property owners?
I don't know. We have that information. I don't know if that's relevant.
One is affected by by the county. The rest are in Westcliff.
Okay, thank you.
It's a barn is only effect. And this was just, pass that.
I think we've answered the question. I'm going to entertain, as I said, a motion to adjourn the Committee of Public Health and to reconvene the Board of County Commissioners.
I'll make that motion as stated.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We will now reconvene as the Board of County Commissioners, and we will continue with the planning and zoning at this time.
And the rest is just copies of letters that we have mailed out of the zoning office. And I think everything else is a little bit under control.
Okay, so we're
done.
We're through. I'm curious about one item if we
Postpone
may,
my other one for vacation.
while we're in planning and zoning. And I would maybe address this to anyone in the audience who wants to respond to it. I understand that there's some rumors going around. Some people have been persons walked into the offices in the courthouse and informed people that they were going to be fired. I don't know where these are coming from exactly, but that's certainly reaching beyond it's a rumor, and it's causing some of our people undue concern. So I think we would appreciate if you have something that's of concern, and any of the county people that get this, please come to us and we'll explain that you're not going to be fired. And Jackie was one of them that this happened to. So,
Because I was gonna pick up my personality if I was gonna be fired.
well, that was just a statement I wanted to make, but I think it's critical that our employees not feel that they're being threatened by rumors. Okay?
Thank you.
All right,
I'd like to second that.
let's go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to agree with you that I think that's a valid, good statement. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right, next item of business we have is the fire ban.
So, good morning, or
Good morning,
almost
sir.
afternoon. Sorry I was a little late getting here. So, as you may or may not be aware of, every Monday at 1:30 I participate in a phone conference that is hosted by the U.S. Forest Service, but there's many entities around the state, the counties, Office of Emergency Managers, sheriffs, fire chiefs, Forest Service, BLM, Department of Fire Prevention Control, a bunch of entities anyways, National Weather Service, to do some reporting and talk about the fire dangers, specifically in our area of the state. The state is about 140% of their annual snowfall as of a week ago. Obviously, excluding our area, the wets and the sangres are not even close to that, particularly the wets. So part of that discussion is any forecasted moisture, the current weather conditions, and what we're looking at over the next week to 2 weeks, and anything further if the Weather Service can talk about it at all or can predict any of that. So just a quick update on that. I kind of updated the commissioners yesterday afterwards, but so we're supposed to get some moisture, a high percentage chance we're going to get moisture Thursday into Friday. They're estimating that we could get as much as half an inch to 1 inch of moisture, whether that's in snow or rainfall, depending on where they're at for our area, which will help the fire situation as far as the dryness goes. We have a lot of fuels out there. The problem is that today and tomorrow are going to be extremely high fire dangers because they're expecting winds to pick up tonight, 25 to 35 miles an hour. Thursday, the winds are supposed to be 40 to 50 miles an hour. So we had a small grass fire yesterday, just at the fairgrounds, rodeo grounds area, there by Nora. Vehicle was dragging a chain, spark hit that dry grass, and there it went. It was very small. Unfortunately, a citizen right there saw it and had it out before the fire department even arrived. Thank goodness. So we do have that. Park County and Teller counties are both in fire restrictions already. Park County is in a stage 2 fire ban, which is real similar to our stage 2 fire ban. Teller County's in they call it a high,
Stage 1.
Yeah, high stage 1, which is basically the same as our stage 2. They break it down a little bit further.
Warfield County's in fire ban.
Yeah, Warfield County's in fire ban. So we're the only one. We're right dead in the middle, basically, of those 3 counties, and we're not in one yet. So a couple things to consider. Chief Tonzig and I met yesterday and talked a little bit. Cindy kind of chimed in through email. So we talked about going to a fire ban. It's March. We've never talked about fire bans in March before that I'm aware of. But of course, we're in new territory. Colorado is now basically 365 days a year. DFPC and all the organizations talk about fire. We had never been in a fire ban in December, and we had never had a large fire burning in November in our county or adjacent counties. So we're in new territory here, and we're all kind of learning as we go. I hate to go to a fire ban in March because a lot of people are praying for some snow so they can burn some slash piles. And I'm at the top of that list. I've got about 20 slash piles at my place because I've been trying to do fire mitigation so my house doesn't burn down. So I have all these slash piles sitting there and we have no moisture so that I can burn them. So then my neighbors are extremely nervous because I have all this fuel sitting there. I mean, so from a selfish standpoint, but also understanding the entire county and all the residents wanting to do this. So, with all that said, I think we're being pretty naive if we don't do at least some lower level fire ban at this point. I mean, we had a chain drag and start a fire yesterday. All it's going to take is somebody smoking, somebody driving their ATV down through a field or something. They could start a fire if it's driven by 30-mile-an-hour winds. And we've already got that T-shirt less than 6 months ago. We know what that'll look potentially could be like. I also mentioned to the commissioners yesterday, just as food for thought in our workshop on something else, is that one of the struggles I have with our fire bans and our ordinance is that it's an all or not ordinance, meaning that either the entire county's in a fire ban or none of it is. And we all know how diverse the county is, from here in Wetmore to the Wets to the Sangres south and north of town. I mean, very diverse. And so we're gonna, I think down the road, we're gonna talk about maybe doing some districts or some different areas to where we can isolate that burning. But talking to Cindy and to Dave here today to recommend that we go to a stage 1 fire ban and be able to assess in a week where we're at if we do get this moisture.
I would like to make a couple of comments, then we can have additional discussion. One of the thoughts that we've had, or at least Shannon and I visiting, and maybe you guys were part of it, is to take Custer and break it up into zones. And we would have an eastern zone, which would be from the county line west to the Fort National Forest line. And then we would have a mid-zone, which would be from Highway 69 east to the forest. Then we could have a third zone, which would be on Highway 69 west to the forest. If we have a forest ban come in, that makes it's simple, it's whole county. I agree that if we're up on the Sangre de Cristals right now, there's not once you get in the timber, there's some snow. But in the wet mountains, there's almost no snow. I was looking today, coming down on some of the more slopes, and I can see bare ground. So I think there's an issue here that we need to address. A second point that I have is that as we look at this fire ban, I wonder if we maybe want to adjust it just a little bit, and I'm just throwing this out for discussion, but a sentence like, if measurable precipitation occurs, the ban may be temporarily suspended. So if we come in and we get a snowstorm and we're wet for 4 or 5 days, okay, and then we dry out, but it's back into it. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. And the third statement, and I worked pretty closely with Jeff Uthier and also Paul Crispin, they try to make decisions based on a forest. Obviously, the people in Leadville right now with 5 feet of snow really don't see any need for a fire ban. That's the northern part of the San Isabel. The people down on Madna Pass can certainly see a need for a fire ban because there's no snow. They try to make it on a forest basis. Well, they broke that pattern yesterday because the Pike National Forest separated off from the San Isabel and issued a fire ban on the Pike, including Park County. The San Isabel Forest still hasn't issued a fire ban because it impacts so many different people on so many different elevations. I think that in visiting, at least part of the folks I think are comfortable if we do it on private land. And I told them this morning we were considering it, and I think it's something that is workable. But I feel that it's, I don't like regulations. I don't like infringing on my right. But at the same time, I don't want to see a 30,000 acre fire that starts right over here west of us and ends up at Gilmore. And that's exactly what we had in Sterling 10 days ago. And that ran that 30,000 acres in about 12 hours. So that's just under my point of discussion. Now, did you review add anything to that?
I think it's fine. Makes sense to do it in segments because some are wet, some are dry. We talked about that yesterday. Makes perfectly good sense. And as far as making a motion on the ban, I mean, I would advocate to the professionals, the sheriff and the fire marshal, and if they recommend that we need it, then I'm in favor of it.
I just want to ask, so Chuck, you would be able to put a ban on our website?
Yes, I would ask that if somebody read over it to make sure that it says what we want it to say, because the stages that we have are published by the Forest Service.
Right.
So, and it says, you can't have this, you can't have that, and I don't know if that's what we want. If we're only going to be doing it on private land, so.
I'd like to hear from Wetmore Fire. What do you folks think?
Whatever you come up with, everything around here can burn, it can burn fast. It's drier than Billy Heck down here. The fire ban is probably what we gotta go for.
I have a question. You may not be able to answer it because it's Forest Service land, but the Smith Creek campground, is there any way we can close that down?
So, yeah, you're right. So I can't speak to that because it's regulated through the Forest Service. They're very hesitant to close those, and something to keep in mind is, so when we put a fire ban in place, it doesn't affect the forest because we don't have, much to my chagrin, we don't have the authority to regulate the forest. The National Forest System and their law enforcement folks handle that. So no, we can't, we don't have that authority. Now we can talk to the Forest Service about it, but it's a federal organization that, as Bob alluded to, like they'll close the pike, but they leave the San Isabel open, even though we know in this area the San Isabel's dry as can be. But to the north, there's a lot of snow there. So that's what worries me is the campfires and people being, they come from other areas, they come in here, they start a big bonfire, not even thinking about the repercussions.
Dale, do you have a thought?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that these campfires are what the real threat is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our local people, just like you and me, anybody else has got a big pile of brush, we're waiting to burn it. But we are waiting to burn it.
Right.
But these yahoos come in here and just hunker down for the night and light a big old fire, and we go up there all the time and run them out and wet down their fires. And I mean, I wouldn't say close the campground, but at least say no open fires.
So what I would ask is that if you see somebody doing that, call us and we'll send a deputy down there. And while we can't force them to put their fire out, we can convince them that that's the prudent thing to do. I'm all over that. Because we have to be realistic, and a lot of times they don't think, I mean, if you live in Colorado Springs, you don't think about the ramifications that come from cooking hot dogs over a campfire. It really sounded cool, and unfortunately the weather's been so nice that people are doing that much earlier than we normally see.
There's a pretty simple answer to that. You pull up and ask them if they've got a $10 million bond. Why? Because if you start a fire, you're liable for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the conversation we have with them.
People that are dumb enough to start
No, but
campfires.
what I'm saying,
won't even
from their
let them know what it
standpoint, we can't say you can't do it, but those are questions, I think if you're asked.
We normally don't get a lot of grief when we start talking about liability and the conditions of the forest. Because anybody can recognize that we should be much more wet right now than we are.
Clint, what do you think about having the sheriff maybe having the ability to temporarily suspend that ban?
I think
Are we opening a can of worms?
No, not necessarily. When we impose a fire ban, it's done by resolution, which I think Brenda probably has about a one-paragraph resolution to impose a stage 1 fire ban. But we could add a paragraph that in the discretion of the sheriff, he can temporarily suspend it. I mean, you want the fire ban for 30 days with the authority to suspend it for a period of time if you feel safe, Shannon?
Well, I think that's something we should talk about, for sure. I mean, because, again, if we put a fire ban in today, I think it's prudent with no moisture down the road, but as soon as we, that's how it always works. We put a fire ban in today, it snows on Thursday, and then everybody's like, you guys are a bunch of morons. But if it doesn't snow, then maybe a fire starts Thursday. So, I mean, you know how that goes. It's a lose-lose no matter what we do, but I think we have to act for the greater good. And then, they call and they'll gripe to me, and that's okay. I'm fine with that because I would rather listen to complaints than fight fire.
I think what we can do also, though, just leave it as it is. And then if we have an event that indicates we should lift it, we call a public notice of a special commissioners meeting. Maybe we just do it by phone, that the only business is the canceling of the fire ban.
Because the ordinance right now doesn't give me the authority, but Mr. Smith might be able to say if we put that in the resolution, and I would be fine with that.
Well, it's probably, like you just suggested, a better way, since there's not that provision in the ordinance, just to impose if that's what you decide to do, a stage 1 fire ban in effect immediately for 30 days unless terminated sooner at the request of the sheriff and by action of the board. And, I mean, if we have to, we can terminate and go back into one if, 5 days later it's just as dry again. It's not that hard to do.
Do you see where I'm going with this, Jackie?
Yeah.
So that it makes sense that we,
Yeah, it's just, I don't know how people follow it, that's the only thing I was thinking is how do you know, okay, so are we in, are we out, is it on the
Posted,
county?
yeah. It has to be
I mean, we
posted,
see
yeah.
on your Facebook page, no birthday today, but, I mean, it's fine, I don't know.
we posted
It's also on
it.
the website now.
Yeah,
And
but
as you come
do
into the
people
county,
know where to check for it? I think that's the piece of letting people know, and visitors, they don't know anyway, so I don't know what to do with that.
So
Well, if
there's
you put it in the newspaper, then you
Well,
can certainly make
that's
a
what we can.
reference to the
Sure.
links to the.
Right. We talked about signage a while back, and it might be time to get those signs at a point of entry of the county.
So there are signs at the entrances to the county, the different, I mean, obviously not every single one, but on the highways, there are the signs. Plus, like if Lake Louise, we put up, in any of the campgrounds, those signs have to go up that, we're in a burn ban, and then obviously they're taken down. The challenge is that those boards going into the campgrounds, if people don't stop and read that, they don't see it. What we do, we put it in the newspaper, we put it on the Custer County webpage, we put it on the sheriff's webpage, we put it on the Facebook,
You
on
can
the
do
Facebook
as
page. I
much
mean,
as you can.
yeah, there's only so much we can do.
all we do is, we're officially raising public awareness,
Yeah, that's all we can try to do.
and it's
And so
better
you,
than nothing.
so you would like me to have them put in that they need to just check the county website
Right.
on, okay.
Or the sheriff's
Call the
office.
sheriff.
Or
Or
call
call
the
the
sheriff.
sheriff's office.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do anyway before we burn.
Well, not for a campfire though.
Well, yeah, but if there's a sign at Lake Louise and somebody don't read it, once they get a big old fat ticket, then they'll read from then on. So it's just just let
In theory, you'd be
them learn
correct.
the hard way.
In theory, you're right.
Yeah, just run a radio car through once in a while,
Yep.
and right up everybody's, right to get everybody got a fire going.
So,
Okay, any other,
well, I just can I ask you, Shannon, to work with Chuck on what he should be putting on the website?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we'll work through that. It's essentially the same thing that we've had
Yeah.
before, Chuck.
Yeah, okay.
Ruth, do you feel comfortable with where we are? I know we're always putting on the spot, but you are with the fire department, and I want to be sure that we are
Well,
hearing.
we've had people already burn, and it's people that have moved to the area. Kevin and Larry put one out the other day, and he's like, well, I'm new here and I burned where I was from. He just bought a house, and we're like, well, you don't do that here. So there is going to be issues, but it's mostly people that are not familiar with what we do here. You have to call and get a permit before you
But
line
you're-
up a pile of
Wetmore
trash.
Fire is comfortable though if we put a fire ban in at this point.
Something that's just
Yeah.
point to that. So something that I've done, that I've started reaching out to homeowners associations and realtors is, so I've written this welcome to Custer County, never famous, right? Sorry. So,
It's better than a Mickey Mouse song.
So I've put out a letter that basically says, welcome to Custer County, and I make some suggestions about, that we recommend that you sign up for Code Red, that you need to be aware that you're not living in a municipality, that you need to have a clearly marked address at your gate, your driveway, or your house that's visible from the roadway so that emergency services can find, yada, yada, yada. And I put in there, but you need to be aware of the fire ban, or the burn ordinance, the county burn ordinance, and you can see that on the county webpage, or on the sheriff's webpage. So I'm in the process of getting that disseminated out so that hopefully somebody that's new to the area buys a house, the realtors will give them that sheet and they'll actually read it that says, hey, listen, you should be aware of these. So I mean, trying to do a few of those things.
In speaking with CART just recently, they're putting together a welcome package. Great idea if you would just coordinate with them, because that's part of what they're doing too, and might as well
Right.
put it together.
Anybody that can get that word out. We'll help.
And there's one other
Clark's working on it.
thing, and I do apologize, I just had to think of, that when we do this, we need to also include Wetmore Fire in the discussions.
Absolutely.
I mean, I apologize for the oversight on that. But we do need to, so it's up an equal deal.
And I have to make one more comment too. Good.
I just want to say on a different note, I want to commend you for your annual report. That was excellent.
I was going to bring some today.
Okay,
Send
back,
another meeting.
back into the agenda then.
I'll make a motion.
I want to make one more
He's
comment.
got one more
Oh,
comment.
go ahead.
Sorry. So while it's great news that we might be getting some moisture for certain areas, it's not such great news here that an inch of moisture can be catastrophic. So we're working today and tomorrow. We're going to work with Wetmore on some notification processes if we do realize an inch of rain in the burn area, because it's going to have big effects here, especially along Smith Creek and down into Greenwood and all the way into town here. So the creek bed has been a matter of neglect for some time now, and I know talking to Ruth yesterday, so they've done a ton of cutting in the last couple weeks with their big bear, trimming, moving out. So now there is a ton of slash, literally tons of slash. Some of it's in the creek bed, some of it's up and out. One thing that I would like to see us do, it won't happen today or tomorrow, but sooner than later, if we do get some moisture, we would like to burn some of that. Now I know everybody's going, oh, wait, burn, you want to have a burn ban, but if we get some moisture, I think we need to burn it, because if we don't, when are we going to get more moisture to burn it again? And we don't need that creek bed full of debris if we're going to have 10 times the amount of water that's normally in there. It's something we need to think about.
We get some.
And again, I know, as I talked to Ruth, I shared with the fire department, they're overseeing it with their fire trucks. Chief Thompson from Wet Mountain, I think, will send a couple fire trucks down too to help oversee it. They could use it as a training, whatever we need to do. Get 4 fire trucks in there to
If
be
Wetmore
utilized.
requests it. I mean, we don't have any control of the fire department, but.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. I would
Wetmore
request it for them. And between Ruth and I, we could talk to Dave. I'm sure he would be willing to help out. But we've got a lot of, and look, last thing I want to do is start a fire. But if we don't, that's why the creek's in the shape it's in, is because it hasn't been burnt in how many years now?
Several.
And so,
Way too long.
it used to not be an issue. That was really good English, I'm sorry. It was never an issue before because it was burned annually, but it hasn't been now for some time, and so.
And way before that, we cut all the trees along the creek to use them for firewood.
Yeah. And now people
we're not.
complain and you get a ticket for that, so.
Okay. I've gotten lost. Did we make the motion yet?
No, but I'll make one. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we enter a stage 1 fire ban. As an addendum to that, I would like to say that we authorize specific burning in Wetmore of brush as deemed necessary, provided the fire department and the sheriff's department oversee that exception to the stage 1 fire ban.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion, I've got a problem with that because if we allow a special exemption here, and I'm just gonna pull a name out of the hat, let's take Brent Bruiser. Brent's got a whole bunch of slash piled up in Westcliff. He's got some snow and wants to burn it. Do we allow them an exemption also?
Whoever's in charge should make the call.
Well, no, but I mean as a policy, if we're gonna, you see where I'm coming from? We're trying to clean this up here.
I would say yes, if he is willing to pay for the fire department to oversee it like we're going to do here.
So I was going to say, if they follow the same procedure with the sheriff's department and the fire protecting it, then I would say I would probably be inclined to vote yes if that was the case, because I knew at that point it's safe. It's not going to get out of hand.
That guy is not in imminent possibility of being flooded out. So I see no equation there at all.
You mean because of the risk we're having with the
That's
flood?
right.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get, this is what we get into if you, there's lots of people out there that like to
Oh, yeah.
question, but I would suggest that we maybe amend that motion to say that the sheriff or whoever is designated has the authority under an emergency order to burn the trash that is being removed as a flood prevention measure for Wetmore, the Wetmore area. Does that make, legally, does that define it closer?
Legally, we need to talk to the attorney, but, I mean,
Well, I just want to be sure Brenda understands,
Yeah.
because she's going to
Well,
prepare it.
What I'm thinking, if it's, this is, like Jack said, this is an emergency situation.
Right.
And we recognize that we have a potential emergency situation with the trash in the creek, and that can be accepted from the fire ban if proper notification is made and proper fire protection is in place. Does that kind of make sense, Brenda?
Yep.
And can we also then instruct Brenda to use the pattern of our previous fire bans wording, and the council can then construct a resolution?
Well, she just generally prepares the resolution itself.
Yeah, but I mean, we
I'll
have
take
to have we have to have a resolution, don't we, that's how we've
Right.
done these
And she'll
before.
prepare the resolution.
And we're not ready today, but under a temporary, we will initiate the ban as of effect today for 30 days. You okay with that?
I think the way you can do it is just that you'll agree there is a resolution as of now, and you will the board will authorize you to sign it as soon as it's prepared.
That works.
Okay.
Commissioners on the spring for lunch.
Good.
Works for me.
Okay. Anything else on,
You gotta vote on that.
pardon?
You haven't voted.
I know, but I was not saying anything else on discussion and stuff regarding this.
Is the resolution the original resolution that Jay made?
Pardon me?
Is the resolution the original resolution that Jay made? Motion?
The resolution is that we draft a whole lot of whereases, which wasn't in his motion, and then we sign that. But it contains basically the comments that we made. It contains the heart of our motion, but it changes the format of where it meets the resolution format.
it'll last Wetmore.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Shannon. It's been something that I've been concerned with for 2 or 3 weeks, and
Me too. I've been waiting and listening to the weather and the winds we're gonna get tonight.
well, and the other thing we need to realize, folks, we can have weather up here on the ground and that'll soak the grass. But those trees that are at 8, 7, 6% moisture are not gonna pick up a lot of moisture just because of the snowstorm.
Sap won't live for 2 months.
So anyway, all right. Trying to find my agenda. Do we have anything else that needs to, I had one other item. What was that?
That was to move the meeting, the Wetmore meeting.
Oh, yes. I'll turn it over to Jay.
I would like to request that our Wetmore meeting that we have on the 3rd Tuesday of each month be moved to the 3rd Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, whatever the Wetmore folks feel most comfortable with. I have a long-standing conflict on this morning, and if that's something that is doable, I would appreciate it. If it's not, I'll deal with it. So I would like to make a motion that we move the Wetmore meetings from the 3rd Tuesday to the 3rd Wednesday of each month at the same time, 9 a.m., same location.
I'll second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. How do you Whitmore folks feel about that? Is it an issue, or do we?
And it'll be at the community center
It's
from
not like I
now
have a
on,
life or
correct?
anything.
When the community
As soon as it's
center-
finished, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where
Third
we're going to
Wednesday of
go.
April, it should be open, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so I would just, in discussion, ask Brenda to send out a new schedule.
Right.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to move it to the third Wednesday from the third Tuesday. Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, folks. The personal thing, and I appreciate it very much.
Is there any business coming forward, board?
I just wanted to let you know, so, just to update everybody in here, so the new dispatch center, we'll be spray textured tomorrow, paint on Thursday, flooring starts on Friday. We're right now tentative, well, no, it's more than tentative, but April 5th and 6th are gonna be our move dates. April 5th, the contractors will be in to do all the preliminaries and get everything ready to go, and then on the 6th, which is a Thursday, we're gonna move all the, we'll move one console at a time into the new dispatch center, and by close of business on Thursday, we should be fully operational in the new dispatch center, which is pretty exciting. Once that happens, we'll have an open house, and anybody can come take a quick peek in there and see what that looks like if you're interested, but just wanted to give that update, so getting close.
We will continue to pursue a sandbag machine. What they look at, one of these machines can fill 6,000 bags in an 8-hour period. And it's on a front end loader, so all you do is fill the bags and you can actually set them on a trailer or set them in the back of someone's pickup. All right, hearing nothing else at this point in time, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you very much.